Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Go Premanandi. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamta Parivajikacharya Stotra Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Abhay Chandravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamta Parivajikacharya Stotra Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Aranda Kori Vaishnav Vrind Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री वसादि गौर भक्त वृंद की. श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंज राधा कुंज गिरि गोवर्धन की. श्री वृंदावन धाम की, मथुरा धाम की, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, गंगा माई की, तुलसी माई की, युगधर्म महानाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की, शीला प्रॉपर ट्रांसलेशन बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की, Srila Prabhupada Translation Prasharam Distribution Ki. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone. This morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. We're reading from Canto 4, Chapter 1, titled Genealogical Table of the Daughters of Manu, text 58 to 59. Text 58 is on the board. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 58. Evam Suraganaistata Bhagavantam Abhishtutao Labdavaloka Yayatur Architau Gandhamadanam. Evam Suraganaistata Bhagavantam Abhishtutau Labdavaloka Yayatur Architau Gandhamadhanam. Evam Suraganaistata Bhagavantav Abhishtutau Labdavaloka Yayatur Architau Gandhamadhanam. Word for word translation. Evam, thus, Suraganai, by the demigods. Tata, O Vidura, Bhagavanto, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Abhishtutao, having been praised. Labdha, having obtained. Avaloke, the glance of mercy. Yayatu, departed. Architao, having been worshipped. Gandhamadanam, to the Gandhamadana hill. Translation, and we'll read the verse 59. The translation purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Abhay Chandra Vinda Bhakti Vedanta Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. Maitreya said, O Vidura, thus the demigods worship with praise of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Appearing as the sage Naranarayana, the Lord glanced upon them with mercy and then departed for Gandhamadana hill. Text 59. Tav imau vibhagavato hare ramsha vihagato bharavyayaya cha bhuva Krishna yadu kurudvaho. That Naranarayana Rishi, who is a partial expansion of Krishna, has now appeared in the dynasties of Yadu and Kuru in the forms of Krishna and Arjuna respectively, to mitigate the burden of the world. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Narayana is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Nara is a part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. Thus the energy and the energetic together are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Maitreya informed Vidura that Nara, the portion of Narayana, had appeared in the family of the Kurus, and that Narayana, the plenary expansion of Krishna, had come as Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with the purpose of delivering suffering humanity from the pangs of material burdens. In other words, Narayan Rishi was now present in the world in the forms of Krishna and Arjuna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatirubhascha Kripa Sindhu Vaivacham Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. We read from Canto 4, Chapter 1, texts 58 and 59. I'll read the translation for these two verses again. Maitreya said, O Vidura, thus the demigods worshipped with prayers the Supreme Personality of Godhead appearing as the sage Naranarayan. The Lord glanced upon them with mercy and then departed for Gandhamadana hill. That Naranarayan Rishi, who is a partial expansion of Krishna, has now appeared in the dynasties of Yadu and Kuru, in the forms of Krishna and Arjuna respectively, to mitigate the burden of the world. So these verses, starting from text 55, actually from 52 itself, describes the descent of Naranarayan Rishi. And just after this verse, it'll be this verse is the conclusion of the appearance of Naranarayan Rishi, and then following this will be the appearance of other personalities that are actually going to appear, all through the daughters of Daksha. So Naranarayan Rishi, there's plenty of references in the Bhagavatam. Canto 1, where it talks about the incarnations of the Lord. Canto 5, where Narada Muni himself prays to Naranarayan Rishi. Canto 11, Canto 12. In the Brihad Bhagavatam, Gop Kumar, when he's traveling through the universe, he travels through because he's always looking for the Lord, because he's so attached to Vrindavan, that he reaches Tapaloka. And in Tapaloka, he's seeing all these residents of Tapaloka are actually meditating intensely. And they describe to him that actually the goal of life is prema, but prema can be achieved by the absorption of mind. If your mind is fully absorbed, so they basically attribute smarana as being higher than shravana and kirtana, because by smarana you're actually fully, you're absorbing your mind in the thoughts of the Lord. So they tell him you should actually sit and meditate, and he's struggling because they say if you seeing the Lord with your eyes is good, but seeing through, seeing him within your mind is actually even higher, because there will be no disruption. And they give examples such as personalities such as Duryodhana and Kamsa, who had actually seen the Lord personally or had darshan with the Lord, but what was the result? They acted inimically towards the Lord. So they actually are telling him that you should meditate and actually focus inwards. And Gop Kumar feels that on Tapaloka the atmosphere is actually much more peaceful, and because of the influence of the atmosphere, that's actually easy to meditate. But still, he's not satisfied. He wants to see the Lord because he's attached. He's always thinking of Vrindavan. And they tell him, okay, if for you seeing is better than meditating, then you go on planet Earth to Gandhamadana hill, which is actually described here, where you'll see Naranarayan Rishi meditating. So he goes there, and he's accompanied by the Kumaras, who actually take him there, and then he makes his way forward. So there's a reference in the Brihad Bhagavatam. Also we see in Canto 5, Narada Muni actually prays to Naranarayan Rishi, and there's a beautiful mantra that's actually described here. If you just refer to Canto 5, Chapter 19, and in verse number 12, Narada Muni actually prays to the Lord. He worships, it's 5:19:12. Narada, the most powerful saintly sage, also worships Naranarayan by chanting the following mantra. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master of the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this visible cosmic manifestation. Yet he is completely free from false prestige. Although to the foolish he appears to have accepted a material body like us, he is unaffected by bodily tribulations like hunger, thirst, and fatigue. Although he is the witness who sees everything, his senses are unpolluted by the objects he sees. let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that unmatched, unattached, pure witness of the world, the Supreme Soul, the Personality of Godhead. So, Nar-Narayan Rishi, it's actually said, they're still residing in Badrik Ashram, performing austerities. In fact, if you go to the ashram of Srila Vyasadeva, they actually, I haven't been there, but I've seen photos of it. They say that if you go into that cave, because Srila Vyasadeva wrote all these books, when you walk into that cave, you actually feel that you're actually walking into a library. That's how obviously we see Srila Vyasadeva is still, to our mundane vision, he's not visible, but he's actually still there. Similarly, Nar-Narayan Rishi are still present, performing their austerities. Actually, they are austerity personified. We see in the Bhagavatam, also in Canto 11, where Nar-Narayan Rishi are actually performing austerities, and Indra, as all we see in 10th Canto, and we see in many other places in the Bhagavatam, the moment Indra sees someone performing austerities for the sake of their spiritual advancement, Indra feels a sense of insecurity, and he sends, whomever his associates are. But in this instance, he sends Cupid to attack, or Kamadev, as we understand, to Nar-Narayan Rishi to disturb them in their meditation. And then when they go there, it is said that Cupid goes with all of his associates through the enchanting glances of the women that are actually there to enchant Nar-Narayan Rishi. And at that, the atmosphere is set. It is actually beautifully described in the 11th Canto, what actually the external atmosphere is like. And everything is set for the moment Nar-Narayan Rishi open their eyes to then, the plan is for them to be enchanted by the arrows of Kamadev. At that moment, when Nar-Narayan Rishi opens their eyes into the strength of austerity, the associates of Kamadev feel ashamed of what they've just done. But Nar-Narayan Rishi, being so, actually it is said that they're renounced, or they're completely renounced of any pride that comes from their austerities. So Nar-Narayan Rishi beautifully states to them, "You are the residents of my ashram, so please come and allow me to serve you." So he speaks in such sweet words that the residents feel ashamed, and they offer beautiful prayers. So Nar-Narayan Rishi completely, as we just read in the prayers of Narada Muni, completely free from false prestige. So that's Krishna. Obviously, we see Nar-Narayan Rishi as expansion of Krishna. I was listening to a class by the great Pankajangri Prabhu on this verse itself, and you're saying that on every 28th day of Brahma, Krishna appears, but in all the previous days we see, as we sometimes see that Nar-Narayan Rishi is an incarnation of Vishnu. That's correct. So, so here we see that actually Krishna, these expansions are coming from Krishna directly, because Krishna has appeared. So in the other days of Lord Brahma, these are expansions of Vishnu. So they're both actually correct. They both don't contradict each other. So we see here Krishna, when through the strength of the austerity, he doesn't exhibit pride. Because for Krishna to teach someone a lesson, he doesn't have to do anything extraneous. In the pastime of lifting Govardhan hill, when Indra started attacking the Rajavasis with torrents of rain, and when the entire Vrindavan was actually submerged, how does Krishna defeat Indra's pride? By just lifting Govardhan hill on his left pinky finger. He's telling Indra to actually defeat you, just my left pinky is enough. He didn't say, okay, Indra, let's come and fight one-on-one. Let me show you who I am. Rather, he just, by the single of his pinky finger, he's like left pinky finger, which is considered to be the weakest of all of our fingers. That's how the Lord defeated Indra's pride. Similarly, here we see, even for Cupid and his associates, the Lord, just by speaking sweet words, actually made them, humble them of of the intention that they're actually come for. Now, what's most interesting is when I was reading in the Bhagavatam for references for Narayan Rishi, there's a chapter in the last canto itself where Markandeya Rishi actually offers prayers to the Lord. Now, Markandeya Rishi is no ordinary personality. He has lived through 2 days of Brahma. So he's lived through the entire dissolution, the partial dissolution that happens at the night of Brahma. So he's lived through that and he's living here now. So Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and all these personalities are just very astounded to see who is this Markandeya Rishi. And Sutta Goswami starts describing the glories of Markandeya Rishi, and it is said that Markandeya Rishi, he's the son of, I'm not remembering, Markanda, and it's the 12th canto. He is, after receiving his initiation and performing his purificatory rites, he actually takes a vow of lifelong celibacy. And he actually worships Lord Hari for the lifetime of 6 manus. So just to recap, just for our own understanding, a day of Brahma consists of how many manus? 14 manus. So 6 for the first 6 manus, Markandeya Rishi, controlling his senses, sitting in meditation, is worshipping Lord Hari for the first 6 manus. And in the 7th manu, Indra finally catches on and says, okay, now I need to do something. So he sends again what he did previously to Lord Narayan. He sends his associates to break Markandeya Rishi's meditation. And then Markandeya Rishi, when he, they are, again, it's a replay of what is actually described in the 11th canto. The celestial dances are there. The atmosphere is fully surcharged with the arrows of Kamadev. And Markandeya Rishi, again, when he opens his eyes just to the power of his meditation, the Apsaras and the other personalities there, the demigods there, actually feel defeated by Markandeya Rishi's glance. And they, again, beg for forgiveness and they move on. And just as a result of him controlling his lust, controlling his senses, and faithfully worshipping the Lord, he gets the audience of Narayan Rishi. They actually approach him in his ashram. And they are very pleased with his austerities that he's performed, and they ask him for a benediction. Now, interestingly enough, obviously, we hear in the Bhagavad Gita, lust is, when Arjuna asks Krishna, "Oh Krishna, what is this force by which one is impelled to do sinful activities? Because if by nature we are all spiritual and pure, then by what force?" And Krishna described, it's lust only, Arjuna. So Markandeya Rishi has conquered this lust, as we see. But then when the Lord asks him for a benediction, obviously first Markandeya Rishi offers him prayers. And then Markandeya Rishi says, "Oh Lord, I want to see the illusory energy by which all living beings are actually cast into illusion." And at that time, Lord Narayan actually says, "So be it." Just those 3 words. In fact, we see in when Krishna says, we see in the entire first chapter, the entire chapter is just Arjuna speaking, his heart out, speaking the reason for which he doesn't want to fight. Krishna only says 1 word. Here too, Krishna just says, "So be it." Also, if you just go back to the 8th canto, Lord Shiva, obviously, Vaishnavam Yada Shambhu, the topmost Vaishnava, when he hears of the pastime of Mohini Murti from all that, because he wasn't personally present when Mohini Murti stole the nectar and gave it to the demigods, he's thinking, when the Lord appears to him, he says, "I want to see that form of yours that had enchanted the demigods." And at that time, the Lord too had a smirk on his face, and he says, "Okay." So the Lord too over here says, "So be it." And then right away, this, Markandeya Rishi feels himself swept into, the ocean of devastation, and he sees from everywhere just um, what the illusory energy is actually described in the 12th canto in a lot more detail. So now what's fascinating is someone who has actually controlled their senses, conquered lust, is now wanting to see this illusory form of the Lord. Now again, this serves as a lesson for us. As I said earlier, I've been very fortunate to have gotten this copy of Mana Shiksha. It is prayers by Raghunath Das Goswami to the mind. And in this, it is described that there are many obstacles that come in the life of a sadhaka, and conquering lust. But after conquering lust, the final obstacle or the anartha that one has to conquer is pride, because that can actually just completely devour all the credit of all the austerities, the credit of all, even though the prior anarthas have actually wiped out all of the gross attachments that we may have, the subtle attachment still remains, and that's known as pride. And pride can only be overcome by humility. And I'm just reading from this book, just a section here. Even at the level of bhava, the desire for fame may remain. Once Srila Prabhupada, actually it's in one of Srila Prabhupada's memory, he's speaking to a disciple, and he's telling a disciple, many of you may have heard it, but always good to hear it again, and for us to be also reminded of this fact. When the first canto had come out, there was a picture of Mahavishnu lying on the causal ocean, and he's telling this devotee, you see this picture of Mahavishnu? This Mahavishnu breathes out many universes. And in this universes, there are many planets. And on this planet, and amongst the many planets, this planet Earth. And on this planet, there are many continents. Amongst these continents, there's this continent called as Americas. And on this continent, there's a country called the United States of America. And in this country of the United States of America, there are many cities, of which one city is Los Angeles. And in this city of Los Angeles, there are many suburbs and streets, and there's a street called as La Cienega Boulevard. And amongst many residences and places that have taken up residence on this La Cienega Boulevard, there's this temple called International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And in this society of devotees, there are thousands of devotees, and among this many devotees, there's this one devotee who thinks he controls everything. Like that, Srila Prabhupada controlled, just taught this devotee, this devotee said, oh, just for a moment I went from here to to here. So this pride actually can take us down. It can really wipe out all that we have achieved, or the goal for which we are aspiring for. Even though we may be dressed in the dress of a sadhu, our externals, but what do we come to the Lord with? In the Ramayana, there's a story, or as we may all have heard, when Ravana comes to see Mother Sita, to kidnap Mother Sita, he comes in the guise of a sadhu. And when he comes in the form of a sadhu, he's begging alms. As soon as Mother Sita, obviously, we know from the story that Mother Sita was actually surrounded by a circle, so no one could actually enter into the circle, because that was created by Lakshman. So Ravana knew about this, and when Mother Sita hears about, when she sees this Brahmana at the doorstep, she's like, please come inside, let me offer you some eatables, and you must be tired. And he says, because he knows if he enters and he'll be burnt, he just says, no, I'm a sadhu, I'm too renounced, you please bring me the eatables, and I'll eat, you please come outside. So externally he's making a show of being renounced, but at the same time, we know that he wasn't renounced, or he come there with another motive. So when we come to Radha Gopinath, what do we actually come? What's in the inner recesses of our heart? Are we coming to offer glory to Radha Gopinath, or is it that something we are holding back for our own selves? So we should ask ourselves this question. I remember once, I think a few years ago, when we had the Bhadra ceremony, and there are many devotees who had actually gotten sets of the Bhagavatam, and they were coming here, and we were offering them to, just in front of Radha Gopinath, just for them to understand the gift that they are actually receiving. So this gift of devotional service is a privilege. Every day during a Tulsi Aarti we sing, Seva Adhikaradeyo Koro Nijodasi. Please grant me the privilege of devotional service. So it's a privilege that we have. A lot of times, especially for myself, because we think of it as we are entitled to it, but it's an entitlement. We have earned it, but actually it's a privilege that's been given to us. So I was carrying on with the story. When different devotees were coming and receiving the Bhagavatam sets, a very beautiful point a devotee made was that we should always come for whichever devotees somehow that we've been in touch with, or that we know of. We should always come and pray to Radha Gopinath for their protection, and to always give them shelter. Because if not, then we'll think that we are actually giving them shelter. Actually, Radha Gopinath are actually giving them shelter. So we should always come in front of Radha Gopinath and just say, Radha Gopinath, these many devotees, somehow or the other, by good fortune, our paths have crossed. Please help them. Because by asking for mercy for them, we're actually asking for mercy for our own selves. Yesterday we celebrated the Vyas Puja of His Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, and when Ghanshyam Prabhu was reading out the offering of Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, it just spoke volumes of Maharaj's humility, and how he was actually pleading to Srila Prabhupada to always keep him under his shelter. So there are many such instances in the lives of great devotees, personalities, who always are very wary of this anartha. In fact, Srila Gopal Bhatt Goswami, one of the most prominent acharyas, we never see his name. He requested Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami to not include his name in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, what are we hankering for? What are we yearning for? Are we yearning for the lotus feet or a service to the Vaishnavas? If not, then we should understand that there's quite a bit of work for us to do. So in this book, there's a section here which I'll read out. Bhakti Vinod Thakur says in his Sri Bhajan Rahasya that there are 4 manifestations of Hridaya Dorbalyam, or the weak heart that is imprisoned here by the material energy. These are Tucha Shakti, attachment to things that are not related to Krishna, Kutinati, or duplicity, hypocrisy, Matsaryam, envy of others' progress which leads to slander, when we talk badly of others, humiliate them or offend them, and Pratishtha, the desire for fame. And then there's a section here, it says, if we read the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Vrindavan Das Thakur says again and again, if you see a Vaishnava, bow down to him. If you can't bow down, then at least bow down to him in your mind. If you see a Vaishnava, be glad to see him. He says that a person should have this one quality, not to distinguish between Vaishnavas, not judging them and not saying, this Vaishnava is at that level of advancement, that one is there, and I'm here. If we consider all Vaishnavas to be above ourselves, we'll go directly to Krishna. Further on he says, if a person doesn't bow his head before the Vaishnavas, then that head will bring him to hell. Behind all the possible offenses, there's one single thing that eventually destroys our consciousness and prevents us from chanting the holy name. It is very important in our dealings with the Vaishnavas to first consider each Vaishnava above ourselves. We can think he's my guru, Krishna has sent him to teach me something. If I consider him my guru, my teacher, I can learn something very important from him. So also in the life of Srila Prabhupada will always whenever any credit would be given to him, he would always say that these disciples have been sent to me by my Guru Maharaj. Um, so in that mood, we should understand that whenever there's any credit that it actually belongs to a spiritual master and to Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. In that way, we'll actually be safe. Once I remember, His Holiness Giriraj Swami asked this question to who's that Prabhupada disciple who's also the editor? Starts with the P. Pradyumna Prabhu. He asked Pradyumna Prabhu that since everything in this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world, that means pride that we see here must also be existing in the spiritual world. And Pradyumna Prabhu said, yes, this also exists in the spiritual world. In the material world, pride reflects or is manifested in me being at the top of the list, and the spiritual world, pride is exhibited by being at the last of the queue. So our pride is exhibited in as many masters as we have. So that is actually pride in the spiritual sense, or in the spiritual domain. So as we read through, obviously, like I said, this was describing Narayan Rishi, but these were some of the pastimes that were related to Narayan Rishi. And we could see how the Lord is never overcome by any pride, any false prestige, and by example. Obviously, they are performing austerities for the benefit of humankind, but what are they actually teaching? And that's what we actually should take with us and should meditate on, what will help us the most. So I'll end here if anyone has any question or comment. Krishna. Yes, Prabhu. Ishwar Prabhu. So the question is, he's in the, as we understand, Markandeya Rishi is in the second day of Brahma, and this past time, when we first read, we saw that he lived through the first 6 days of Brahma, and then the 7th day of Brahma, he actually had audience with the Lord. And first 6 months, and the 7th mantra, he actually, the Lord appeared to him. So did he get his benediction? Was his benediction answered right away, or did he have to wait for the other 6? Is that the question? Yeah, it's described in the 12th canto. Let me just see this. It just says here, after he's asked for the benediction, O Brahmana Sonaka, best of the bhrigus, one day while Markandeya was performing his evening worship on the bank of Pushpabhadra, a great wind suddenly arose. Yeah, Yeah, it doesn't say that if you waited another 6 more manvantras of it, maybe I can look it up and let you know. Yes, Prabhu. You can show. Brahma's Day, yeah. Mm. Mm-hmm. Banyan leaf. Mouth. Mm. Mm. Oh, okay. Thank you, bro. Thank you. Yes, bro. Yeah. So there, like I said, in each Manvantara, each reign of Manu, there's a Manvantara avatar, so the form of the Lord, the avatar of the Lord that actually incarnates, and also there are different personalities. So it's like a cabinet. So we have currently, in the current government, we have a cabinet of the Prime Minister and these different ministers and so on and so forth. So there are different personalities who also take up the role of Indra. So Indra is a position. So there are personalities like, for example, based on their performance of piety or austerities, they may be entitled to the throne of Indra. So in each of these manus, that title, the person who's actually occupying the post of Indra is changing. So whoever occupied it at that time must have then, said, "Hey, what's happening here?" So it's not the same Indra, the same person who's been through that. It's someone different. Yes, bro. Gandhamadana Hill. Where is it located? Well, the resident of Narayana Rishi's Badrika Ashrama. Is there a reference of Gandhamadana in? No. Okay. In Jambudweep. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. It's to look to the fifth canto where it actually describes it, because there's a description of the residence of Narayana Rishi. Yes, bro. You have something else? Yeah. Yeah. We'll have to find out. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Energy and energetic. So sunshine and sun globe. Now these two come together. For example, the sunshine can't exist without the sun globe, and sun globe can't exhibit its potency, or it's actually we experience the potency of sun globe to the sunshine. So it's energy and energy. So Krishna is always there. So Krishna doesn't come alone. He's coming with his Sudarshan Chakra and his other associates. So Krishna is never alone. Um, so similarly, even for us, I mean, it may be a bit of a diversion, but we always worship the Lord through the Guru Parampara. There was this one pastime of Srila Prabhupada where he was walking with a disciple, and somehow or the other this disciple had been not been influenced, but was just leaning a bit towards the impersonalism aspect of things. So Srila Prabhupada was walking with this disciple, and they walked up a hill, or maybe like a slope. And as soon as they went up the slope, this devotee was holding Srila Prabhupada's hand. As the moment Srila Prabhupada went up, he just, brushed away this devotee's hand. And he said, this is what Mayavadis do. They think that the moment they go up, that they actually don't need the guru anymore. So in fact, in this book, again, bit of a diversion, but this is something that was read in this book, that the last snare of Maya is that we may be able to overcome a material attachments, that the final attachment that we have to let go is to give up the propensity to enjoy the spiritual energy of the Lord. And that's what it's actually described. That's to surmount the weakness of the heart. So, yeah, energy is always energetic, so they both go hand in hand. It's not exclusive of one another. Okay, if nothing else, we'll end the class. Thanks again. Grantra Shrimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.